Hi everyone, this is Frank with Teachly University. In this lecture today, we're going to be diving into the concept of how to create our dream life or to create our own reality. And more specifically, we're going to be discussing Joe Dispenza's work in his book, How to Break the Habit of Being Yourself, which is a wonderful book that I recommend that you read. And we're going to be exploring that in this lecture today. So I want to start with the concept that all of us have this higher self. Or more specifically, we have these deeper mental faculties that many of us don't utilize because unfortunately, we more often than not run on autopilot every single day where we spend most of our waking hours reacting to our circumstances rather than really going within and doing the mental work to where we become much more deliberate with how we think and behave, or something called metacognition, where we think about how we're thinking and analyze the kind of results that we're getting or lack of results, and how perhaps maybe we can begin to pivot and change and unleash these mental faculties that we have in order for us to transcend and overcome some of the limitations that we're experiencing within our own minds and in our reality. And it reminds me, I think, of the book by Tony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within or Unlimited Power. Those are two books that are also amazing books I'd recommend you read. I'm exploring Awaken the Giant Within now. And I'm going to do a lecture on that book in the next uh, few lectures from now. And this is still some other content I'm going to be discussing in future lectures. But I think for all of us, we have this warped perception of reality because we're not utilizing these powers that we have or this inner greatness that we all possess. That when we utilize this greatness and these higher mental faculties, such as abundance, courage, happiness, creativity, genius, when we begin to utilize these mental faculties in this higher self, or when we enter these states of flow, we can begin to unveil a new reality, much different from the one we're experiencing now, by simply changing our perceptions of what we're experiencing. Where we can enter new states of consciousness. And this is something that Dispenza, and we're going to be discussing, discusses a lot in his work, especially in breaking the habit of being yourself. So Dispenza says that psychologists tell us by the time we're in our mid-30s, our identity or personality will be completely formed. This means that for those of us over 35, we have memorized a select set of behaviors, attitudes, beliefs, emotional reactions, habits, skills, associative memories, conditioned responses, and perceptions. That word really stands out to me. And perceptions that are now subconsciously programmed within us. Those programs are running us because the body has become the mind. This means that we will think the same thoughts, feel the same feelings, react the identical ways, behave in the same manner, believe the same dogmas, and perceive reality the same ways. About 95% of who we are by midlife is a series of subconscious programs that have become automatic. Driving a car, brushing our teeth, overeating when we're stressed, worrying about our future, judging our friends, complaining about our lives, blaming our parents, not believing in ourselves, and insisting on being chronically unhappy, just to name a few. So this reinforces what I said before, that for many of us, we operate under this unconscious program or these mental models completely underneath our awareness. We don't realize we're engaging in these behaviors. Yet we spend most of our waking hours totally unconscious or unaware that we're behaving and thinking in ways that goes against our self-interest or is not producing the desired results that we have in our lives, and is thus then warping our perception of our reality and of ourselves. And by the time we reach adulthood, these behaviors are cemented subconsciously, where they become programmed to the point where we don't even realize we're doing it. They become part of our personality. And this is something that Joe Dispenza discusses here. But the good news, and I think that we'll discuss now later in the lecture, is that thanks to the neuroplasticity, even by adulthood, we can change. We can change and rewire our brains and think in new ways. We can change our perceptions. We can modify our behaviors by being much more deliberate about how we act and begin to become self-aware about how we're thinking. Where if we don't like where we are, If we don't like the life that we're living, if we don't like the results that we're getting, then we can change it. But it starts by making a decision that we want to change with such intensity where neurologically we feel it within our bodies, where we feel as if what we want is here now. The brain does not know the difference between what is real and what is not. So we begin to think about and feel that what we want is here within the present moment. We become much more deliberate creators and change and begin creating the reality that we want. So if we want to change some aspect of our reality, Dispenza says, we have to think, feel, and act in new ways. We have to be different in terms of our responses to experiences. We have to become someone else. We have to create a new state of mind. We need to observe a new outcome with that new mind. So the word observe also stands out to me. Oftentimes, and I'm guilty of this, that we don't observe our lives. We act like victims of our circumstances, where we feel helpless, that we have no power or little power over ourselves and what occurs outside of us. Now, granted, we cannot control everything in our external environment, obviously, but we can certainly, as I've said, control our perceptions of what happens to us. And by observing and focusing on new, more desirable outcomes, we can begin to change. But it's also important to understand that in order to change our personal reality, we have to change our personality. You can't expect to get new results by thinking and acting in the same old ways that have produced undesirable circumstances. So then we must change some aspect of ourselves if we are to change some aspect of our reality. That means making changes, making new decisions, new choices. The brain likes novelty. So it is important then that we begin acting in new ways so we can generate new experiences. And when we have these new experiences, or more specifically, positive experience, such as new, more loving relationships, new business opportunities, new friendships that you come across, new experiences that you have through travel, through seeing new vistas, or just simply by meditating or through prayer, we can have new experiences internally. By doing these things, by making new choices, we can improve some aspect of our reality for the better. But it requires that we make new decisions and not get into the same rut and the same habitual thought processes and behaviors that have led us to where we are right now, which is a reality that maybe is not to our liking. So Dispenza says a new state of being creates a new personality. A new personality produces a new personal reality. How will you know whether this meditative practice has activated these three brains to produce the intended effects? Simple. You will feel different as a result of investing in this process. So the word feel, how would you know if your life is beginning to change? Well, you would feel like it is changing. You would feel that your prayers have become answered. That you're living the life that you want to live right now without necessarily having to change everything in your current reality. But when you refocus on what you want and really beginning to combine the mind and body connection, where you just can't intellectualize this process, you have to feel it, you have to become this person that encompasses this new reality that you want, that's when you see things change. And when it comes to the meditative process, when we talk about meditation, it's taking the time to disconnect for a period of time every day, even just for 5 or 10 minutes, where we meditate or journal, where we're not seduced by our current circumstances, but whereby we focus on a new future, a desired outcome, and we focus on that and feel it, not just with our minds, but with our bodies, where we imagine as if what we want is already here. And as I said before, the mind does not know the difference between what is real or not. By contemplating new horizons and feeling the wish fulfilled, and by investing in this process on a consistent basis and reinforcing it, over time we can create a new personal reality and a new personality. But it takes an investment. It's a process and it requires some work. But the work shouldn't feel like a chore. It should feel enjoyable. But it does mean that it requires making new decisions. and new choices about what we would like to have in our lives. So reason this. When you think from your past memories, you can only create past experiences, as all of the knowns in your life cause your brain to think and feel in familiar ways, thus creating knowable outcomes. You continually reaffirm your life as you know it. And since your brain is equal to your environment, then each morning your senses plug you into the same reality and initiate the same stream of consciousness. So by thinking the same ways, by consciously focusing on the same thoughts and visuals and sounds and ideas, and reinforcing the same habits over and over again, it creates the same reality every single day. And the reason this happens because our brains are like a warehouse of all of the past experiences that we've had in our lives. And chances are many of the decisions that we make on a daily basis is based on the decisions or experiences and memories of the past. And what makes a memory last and burned in our consciousness is the emotional intensity of that memory. For many of us who are old enough, we all remember where we were on September 11th because of the emotional intensity of that tragedy. We all remember that day and watching it on television and watching the visuals, and we all remember because of the intensity of that event, and has been ingrained in our consciousness for many of us who are old enough to experience that, especially for those who were in New York that day. And that can go for any other memory, that we remember something because of the emotional intensity of that experience. So what happens is that many of the decisions we make on a daily basis is based on past outcomes because we like familiarity for that matter. The unknown is scary, which is why we like the convenient, to feel comfortable. But in order for us to create a new stream of consciousness, to create a new reality, a new set of ideas that we can invest in and cultivate, it requires thinking in new ways where we begin to create new memories and new experiences by investing emotion into the experiences we wish to have. The reason why we want to achieve something or want something, whether it's a relationship or a job or a material possession, is because of how it would make us feel when we get right down to it. So I think the question is then, why wait? And Dispenza raises this question as well. Why wait until you achieve something to feel a certain way? Or why wait for a tragedy or crisis in your life to where you're forced to change? Why wait? Start now. Start feeling as if your dream life is already here. That the desired life that you want is in the present moment now. And by investing and feeling or injecting into this process a new experience, our lives can change. But it requires entering the unknown and taking some risks, meaning we have to get a little bit uncomfortable. Because by breaking these habits that we've engaged in for so long, it can be very uncomfortable and difficult at first. So it does require a little bit of work and effort on your end, but it is well worth the investment, thus investing in yourself for positive change. So when you meditate and connect to something greater, you can create and then memorize such coherence between your thoughts and feelings. The mind-body connection, I think, is what he's alluding to here. That nothing in your outer reality, no thing, no person, no condition at any place or time could move you from that level of energy. So it's thoughts and feelings, it's the mind and body. You hold on to a vision of what it is that you want, and you focus on it with such clarity. You build on that vision with every detail of what it is that you want. Maybe it's a specific job or career you want to have, or an experience where maybe you want to travel somewhere, or a relationship that you would like to have. By focus on it with such detail and feeling, then you can usher in a new reality before it arrives in your physical reality, if that makes sense. Where in your mental studio, you cultivate a vision of what it is that you want. And by focus on that with such intensity, nothing outside of you can deter you from what it is that you want. Because when you look at any person of greatness in business, in sports, in spirituality, religion, and politics, all the greats and the famous people that have come before us. There was nothing in their external environment to validate what it is that they wanted to achieve. More than likely, many of them came from very uh, difficult circumstances. They had to overcome many challenges to achieve and overcome and get to where they wanted to be. But it all starts with an idea, and by cultivating and holding on to that idea without getting deterred from what is happening outside of us, then we can really begin to move the needle and change. And when you meditate and connect to something greater, this beginning of this quote from Dispenza stands out to me. When you meditate and connect to something greater, when we meditate and pray, and we can examine prayer for a moment. What is prayer? Prayer, especially in religious circles, is when we're connecting to something greater. We're connecting to God and energy and intelligence, or the universe, if we want to think even broader. This mystery of existence, of how we came to be, of how the universe came to be, which, when you really think about it, could be overwhelming and daunting and even sometimes scary. But by connecting to this intelligence that is the cause behind all that we experience, all that we see in our reality, by connecting to it and impressing onto it what it is that we desire and what we wish to experience, then that's when transformation can occur, where you rechannel the energy that you have, because you are energy. We don't have energy, we are energy. And when your energy becomes much more vibrant and alive, where you feel alive, maybe for the first time in your life, where you have this level of energy where you feel like you can do anything, you feel invincible in a way. And I've discussed this a lot often when I discuss these states of flow that Mihaly Simmons and Haile and Stephen Kotler have discussed in their work, where when you're in this state of flow, everything just starts to make sense. We're not worried about the future or living in the past. We're living in the present moment now. We've connected to something within ourselves, and perhaps even something greater than us, where we can feel like we can move mountains. And just having a little bit of faith in this process can help us move those very mountains. So we should never wait for science to give us permission to do the uncommon. If we do, then we are turning science into another religion. We should be brave enough to contemplate our lives, do what we thought was outside the box, and do it repeatedly. When we do that, we are on our way to a greater level of personal power. So I think this is a fascinating quote by Dispenza, because if you've read books by Neville Goddard, Napoleon Hill, Wallace D. Wattles, Thomas Troward, Dr. Joseph Murphy, and others, they discuss many concepts such as neuroplasticity, positive psychology, on the power of focus, affirmations, and the importance of prayer and faith, that I think now is just starting to be validated in the scientific realm, especially when it comes to the neuroplasticity and what we impress on the subconscious mind and how that can impact our psychology and our personal reality. But nevertheless, we should not wait for science or to wait for permission or validation outside of us to think outside the box or to be unrealistic. You are the only one that can determine what is realistic or unrealistic. Nobody else can do that for you. You have to determine what it is that you want and what you think you are capable of, which is probably a lot more than what you realize, because many of us tend to underestimate our skills and abilities. But it's, as I said before, we should not wait for something outside of us to think and act a certain way. We have to chart our own course. And this is not easy, because conformity is a drug that is very addicting in our society. We wish to conform and be like everybody else. But if we are to live the life the way we want and create our own reality, conformity is not the way to do that. We mustn't conform to the conventional wisdom of everyday life, which unfortunately leaves us feeling powerless and helpless, feeling like we're unable to change our reality for the better. So by setting our own course, we enter the unknown. But by doing so, we can create a vast and great new life and create reality the way we wish. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you who have watched my videos and who have subscribed. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can watch all my lectures and also hit that like button as well. Thank you so much and have a great day. Thanks.